The stars looked different from Mars. Admiral John Harris stood on the observation deck of the Earth Defense Station, watching ships come and go from the red planet's largest colony. 3 years had passed since humanity discovered faster-than-light travel. 3 years since they learned they weren't alone in the universe. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council," Lieutenant Commander Beth Young announced from her station. John turned away from the window. The Galactic Council again. For months they had sent the same message. Humanity was expanding too fast, claiming too many systems. The Council, made up of 47 different alien species, didn't like newcomers. "Put it on screen," John ordered. The holographic display flickered to life. Council leader Varthok appeared, his blue-scaled face showing what humans had learned, meant disapproval. "Humans of Earth, this is your final warning. Your expansion into the Kepler sector violates Council space. Withdraw immediately." John had heard this before. Earth's colonies were all in unclaimed space, following every rule the Council had given them. "Send our standard response," he told Beth. "We are in compliance with all Council regulations." 3 hours later, everything changed. The first alarm screamed through the station. John ran to the command center as red lights flashed everywhere. "Report!" Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Captain Amy Peterson called out, "There's Zephyrian Empire vessels, 15 capital ships, over 100 fighters." The Zephyrians were the Council's military arm, the species that enforced Council decisions. John watched the tactical display fill with enemy contacts. "They're targeting the colony. All ships, defensive positions. Protect the civilians." But the Zephyrians didn't want to talk. Their ships opened fire without warning. Plasma bolts and particle beams sliced through space, striking the colony's shields. John watched in horror as the protective barriers flickered and failed. "Launch all fighters," he commanded. "Evacuate the colony. Get those civilians to the shelters." Earth ships were outnumbered 5-1. The battle was chaos. Human pilots fought bravely, but Zephyrian technology was centuries ahead. John watched his tactical display as ship after ship went dark. Down on Mars, Dr. Kate Sullivan ran through the colony's main research center. Explosions shook the building as she gathered critical data on her tablet. Outside the reinforced windows, she saw Zephyrian troops landing. They moved with military precision, setting up artillery positions. "Everyone to the underground shelters," she shouted to her team. "Move, move, move!" The ground shook violently. Kate stumbled and fell as a massive explosion tore through the colony's northern sector. She got up and kept running. Behind her, buildings collapsed in clouds of red dust. Lieutenant Jake Miller pushed his fighter to its limits, weaving between enemy fire. His squadron was down to 3 ships from 12. "Dragon Leader to base, we can't hold them. There's too many." "Keep fighting, Dragon Leader." John's voice came through the comm. "Help is coming." But help was too far away. Jake watched a Zephyrian cruiser target the colony's main habitat dome. The massive ship's main gun charged with purple energy. "No," Jake whispered. 20,000 people lived in that dome. The weapon fired. The dome's structure held for 3 seconds before shattering like glass. The atmosphere inside rushed out into the thin Martian air. Jake screamed in rage and turned, his fighter toward the cruiser, firing everything he had. His weapons barely scratched its shields. On Earth, President Maria Rodriguez sat in the emergency bunker beneath the White House. The Joint Chiefs surrounded her, their faces grim. General Lisa Cooper pointed to the live feed from Mars. "Madam President, we've lost contact with half the colony. Casualties are estimated at 50,000 and climbing." Maria's hands clenched into fists. "Why?" "We followed their rules. We stayed in unclaimed space." "It doesn't matter," Ambassador Stephen Wright said quietly. "They want to make an example of us. Show the galaxy that humans are weak." The battle continued for 6 hours. When the Zephyrian fleet finally withdrew, Mars Colony 1 was in ruins. Admiral Harris stood in the wreckage of his command center reading damage reports. 50,000 dead, hundreds of ships destroyed, years of work wiped out in hours. Paul Turner, one of the colony's senior engineers, limped into the command center. His left arm hung useless at his side. "Admiral, I managed to save something." He held up a damaged piece of Zephyrian technology. "One of their shield generators. It's damaged, but I can study it." John took the device carefully. "Good work, Paul. We'll need every advantage we can get." 3 days later, the Galactic Council met in full session. Earth's ambassador stood before them, showing footage of the unprovoked attack. The alien delegates sat in silence as they watched the destruction. "The Zephyrian Empire acted without council approval," Ambassador Wright said. "This was not enforcement, this was murder." Council leader Varthok's scales shifted to a darker blue. "The Zephyrians acted to protect council interests. Humanity's aggressive expansion threatened galactic stability. We expanded into empty space," Wright protested. "We threatened no one." "The council has decided," Varthok continued, ignoring the protest. "The attack was justified. Humanity must accept responsibility for provoking this response." Wright stared at the alien leaders. Not one spoke in Earth's defense. "Then Earth withdraws from these proceedings. We will seek justice on our own." On Earth, President Rodriguez addressed the United Nations. Leaders from every nation watched as she spoke. "Today we learned a harsh truth. The galaxy sees us as weak, as victims to be crushed when convenient. They took 50,000 of our people, our sons, daughters, friends." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "They think we will cower. They think we will beg. They are wrong. Earth has been a cradle of warriors for thousands of years. We fought each other until we learned to fight together. Now, we face our greatest challenge. I'm ordering full military mobilization. Every factory, every shipyard, every research center will work toward one goal: ensuring this never happens again. We offered the galaxy our friendship. They gave us death. Now they will learn why humans survived and thrived on a death world." Hidden facilities across the solar system, humanity began to prepare. Scientists studied the captured Zephyrian technology. Engineers designed new weapons. Soldiers trained for combat in environments they'd never imagined. The Galactic Council returned to their normal business, confident that humanity had been put in its place. They didn't notice Earth's ambassadors quietly gathering intelligence. They didn't see the hidden shipyards being built around Jupiter. They didn't realize that humans had a talent for learning from their enemies. The galaxy had awakened something ancient in humanity. Not rage, though that burned hot. Not hatred, though that ran deep. They had awakened humanity's greatest strength: the ability to adapt, survive, and overcome any challenge. The Council thought the war was over. For humanity, it had just begun. 6 months passed since the Zephyrian attack on Mars. To the Galactic Council, Earth seemed quiet, defeated. Their intelligence reports showed humans rebuilding their colony, struggling with outdated technology. The Council believed humanity had learned its lesson and returned to being the galaxy's newest, weakest species. They were wrong. Deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, engineer Paul Turner worked inside a massive hidden facility. His left arm, lost during the attack, had been replaced with a mechanical one. He held up a glowing blue device, examining it carefully. "Is it working?" Dr. Kate Sullivan asked, looking up from her computer. Paul nodded. "The shield generator is at 120% of Zephyrian standard output." He smiled, the first real smile since the attack. "We didn't just copy their technology, we made it better." Kate walked over to examine the device. "How long until we can put it on the new ships?" "Production starts tomorrow. General Cooper wants the first batch for the Jupiter shipyards by next week." Throughout the solar system, similar scenes played out in secret facilities. Earth had not been idle. President Rodriguez had ordered a complete reorganization of human industry. Every factory that could be converted to military production had been. Resources from across the solar system flowed to hidden shipyards and research centers. In Washington, D.C., President Rodriguez met with her War Council. General Lisa, Cooper stood at the front of the room, pointing to a holographic display of Jupiter and its moons. "The shipyards are ahead of schedule," Lisa reported. "The first battle group will be ready in 2 weeks, the second and third groups a month after that." Admiral John Harris studied the display. "What about weapons?" Dr. Eric Johnson, the lead weapons researcher, stepped forward. "We've successfully reversed-engineered Zephyrian energy weapons. Our versions are 30% more powerful and use 15% less energy." President Rodriguez nodded. "And our special projects?" Dr. Johnson's expression turned serious. "Project Thunderbolt is ready for testing. If it works as designed, we'll be able to disable Zephyrian shields completely." In orbit around Jupiter's moon Europa, Captain Amy Peterson floated inside the command center of Earth's newest warship, the EDF Vengeance. The ship was 3 times larger than anything humanity had built before the attack. Its hull gleamed with new armor plating designed to withstand Zephyrian weapons. "Engine test complete," her executive officer reported. "All systems green." Amy looked around the bridge. Her crew was young, but determined. Many had lost family on Mars. "Begin weapons calibration," she ordered. "I want everything perfect before Admiral Harris arrives for inspection." The ship's main gun powered up, drawing energy from the new quantum reactors. On the tactical display, a small asteroid 20 kilometers away shattered as the beam struck it. Amy nodded in satisfaction. "Now that's what I call an upgrade." In the diplomatic quarter of the massive Galactic Council station, Ambassador Stephen Wright maintained a careful facade. To the other species he appeared humble, even somewhat afraid. He bowed low to council representatives, spoke softly in meetings, and never challenged the official story of what happened on Mars. Behind closed doors, his work was very different. His diplomatic team gathered intelligence on Zephyrian fleet movements, defense capabilities, and supply lines. Each piece of information was encrypted and sent back to Earth through hidden channels. Today, Wright sat across from a representative of the Talaxian Federation, a minor power within the Council. The Talaxian, a short reptilian being named Kex, slid a data crystal across the table. "This contains the patrol schedules for the Zephyrian border fleets," Kex whispered. "The Zephyrians attacked one of our colonies 80 years ago. We have not forgotten." Wright pocketed the crystal. "Earth remembers its friends," he promised. On Earth's moon, Lieutenant Jake Miller climbed into the cockpit of a new fighter. Unlike the ships destroyed over Mars, this craft incorporated alien technology. Its engines were faster, its weapons stronger, and its shields actually worked against Zephyrian weapons. "How does she handle?" Colonel Daniel Lee asked from the observation platform. Jake ran his hands over the controls. "Like nothing I've ever flown before. She's responsive, powerful." He looked up at his commander. "When do we get to use them for real?" Daniel's expression hardened. "Soon. Very soon." Back on Earth, Dr. Michelle Carter worked in a secure communications facility. Her job was to monitor all Galactic Council transmissions that Earth could intercept. For months, she had been building a database of their languages, encryptions, and communication protocols. "I've got something," she called to her. "Team Pate, the Zephyrians are planning a military exercise near the Kepler sector next month, right where they claim we were expanding aggressively." Her assistant looked up. "Will they come here?" Michelle shook her head. "No. This is just a show of force. They don't think we're a threat anymore." She smiled grimly. "That's exactly what we want them to think." In the Jupiter shipyards, Admiral Harris walked through the massive construction bays with General Cooper. Above them, thousands of workers assembled warships of various sizes. The largest, dreadnoughts nearly a kilometer long, hummed with power as engineers tested their systems. "How many ships total?" John asked, looking at the armada taking shape. 300 combat vessels, Lisa answered, plus support ships, transports, and fighters. 6 times what we had before the attack. John nodded. "And the crews?" "Training is intense. Simulator programs using data from the Mars attack. They're learning to fight like Zephyrians to predict their tactics." On the diplomatic front, Ambassador Wright attended a Galactic Council session. The topic was trade routes in the Orion sector, far from Earth. He sat quietly, taking notes. Council. Leader Varthok addressed the gathered representatives. The humans have wisely accepted their place in the galactic community. Their reconstruction efforts show they understand the consequences of expansion without council approval. Wright kept his face neutral, hiding his contempt. Let them think. Humanity was broken. Let them believe Earth had surrendered to their place in the cosmic hierarchy. The truth would come soon enough. In her office in Washington, President Rodriguez reviewed the final assault plans. Operation Silent Thunder would begin in exactly 1 month. The target list included 17 Zephyrian military installations, 6 shipyards, and 3 command centers. The attacks would be simultaneous, overwhelming, and completely unexpected. Fleet is ready, Admiral Harris reported via secure communication. Crews are trained, weapons are loaded. We await your command. Maria studied the holographic display showing the Zephyrian Empire's territory. The Council believes we're still licking our wounds, too afraid to even protest their actions anymore. That works in our favor. What about after? John asked. Once we strike, there's no going back. After? Maria's eyes narrowed. After the galaxy learns that humanity is not to be underestimated. After they understand that attacking Earth means facing consequences. She stood, looking at the stars visible through her window. After, they never dare harm us again. Throughout the solar system, humanity prepared in silence. Ships gathered at hidden jump points. Soldiers studied alien physiology and tactics. Engineers made final adjustments to weapons that didn't exist 6 months earlier. The Galactic Council continued its business, unaware that the galaxy's balance of power was about to change forever. In 1 month, the species they had dismissed, as weak, would show them exactly what humans were capable of when pushed too far. The Zephyrian border station orbited quietly around a gas giant. It was a routine night for Commander Krell. His crew monitored the shipping lanes, collected taxes from passing merchants, and watched for smugglers. The Empire's frontier was peaceful, until it wasn't. The first sign of trouble came when communications went silent. No warning, no static, just complete silence. Krell barked orders demanding answers. Then the sensors lit up with multiple contacts appearing from nowhere. Identify those ships, Krell ordered. His officer stared at the screen in confusion. Unknown design. They're not broadcasting identification codes. 5 black ships approached. They moved differently than any vessels Krell had seen before. Faster, more agile. The Zephyrian commander hit the alarm. Battle stations. Raise shields. But it was too late. The lead human ship, the EDF Vengeance commanded by Captain Amy Peterson, fired its main gun. The beam cut through the Zephyrian station's shields like they weren't there. The explosion lit up the night. Amy watched the station break apart on her tactical display. Target destroyed. No survivors. Her voice was calm, professional. Move to secondary targets. Inside the ship's command center, Admiral John Harris nodded in satisfaction. Begin Phase 2. Across Zephyrian space, the same scene played out 17 times in the first hour. Human ships appeared without warning, struck with overwhelming force, and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. Each attack hit a critical military target. Each left no survivors to report what they had seen. On the Zephyrian homeworld, High Commander Velk received the reports with growing horror. 17 installations gone in 60 minutes. No distress calls, no survivors, no warning. Who is attacking? Us? He demanded. His intelligence chief looked up from his display. The energy signatures match human technology, but improved. Significantly improved. Velk's scales darkened with rage. Humans? Impossible. Their technology is primitive. We destroyed their colony. Sir, we're receiving reports of attacks on our supply depots in the Procyon sector. The High Commander slammed his fist on the table. Send the home fleet. Crush these insects once and for all. Lieutenant Jake Miller led Dragon Squadron toward Q. the largest Zephyrian shipyard in the Procyon sector. 12 of Earth's newest fighters flew in perfect formation. Their mission: destroy the shipyard and the 5 warships under construction there. Dragon Leader to all units, Jake said into his comm. Remember Mars, no mercy. The fighters accelerated to attack speed. Below them, the massive Zephyrian shipyard spun slowly in orbit. Alarm beacons flashed as the facility detected the approaching Earth ships. Enemy fighters launching, Jake's second-in-command reported. 30 contacts moving to intercept. Jake smiled grimly. Just as we planned. Engage as trained. The human fighters scattered, executing maneuvers that seemed to defy physics. The Zephyrian pilots, used to being technologically superior to all opponents, found themselves outmatched. The humans moved faster, turned sharper, and hit harder. Jake targeted a Zephyrian fighter and fired. His weapons, designed using captured alien technology, tore through the enemy ship's shields. 2 more Zephyrian fighters exploded as his squadron engaged. Continue to the primary target, Jake ordered. As the dogfight raged, don't get distracted. The remaining human fighters broke through the Zephyrian defense and approached the shipyard. Jake locked onto the main power core and launched a quantum torpedo. The new weapon, developed by Dr. Eric Johnson, phased partially through the shipyard's shields before detonating. The explosion started small, then grew as secondary systems failed. The entire shipyard began to break apart, taking the 5 warships with it. Target destroyed, Jake reported. Dragon Squadron, return to carrier. Across 3 sectors of space, Earth's forces struck with precise, overwhelming force. Colonel Daniel Lee led the ground assault on the Zephyrian Military Academy on Proxima 4. His troops moved with ruthless efficiency, using weapons and tactics the aliens had never seen before. Sector 4 secured, his sergeant reported. Daniel nodded. Plant the charges and move to extraction. 2 minutes. The human soldiers placed explosives throughout the Academy's main building. The Zephyrian cadets and instructors who had surrendered watched in shock as their prestigious academy was rigged to blow. Why are you doing this? One instructor asked. This is a school, not a military target. Daniel looked at him coldly. This is where you train your officers. The ones who ordered the attack on Mars were trained here. He checked his watch. You have 90 seconds to evacuate. The humans left, taking no prisoners. Behind them, the Academy exploded, sending a clear message. Earth remembered and Earth responded in kind. In the Galactic Council chamber, emergency alarms sounded for the first time in 300 years. Representatives of 47 species gathered in confusion and fear as reports came in from across the galaxy. Council leader Varthok called for order. We have confirmed reports of massive attacks against Zephyrian military targets. 17 installations destroyed in the first hour alone. 6 shipyards obliterated, 3 command centers gone. Ambassador Stephen Wright sat quietly at the human delegations table. For months he had played the role of the humble diplomat. Now he simply watched as the council realized what was happening. Who would dare attack the Zephyrian Empire? Demanded the Kral representative. Varthok's scales had turned almost white with shock. The attacks bear the signature of human technology. All eyes turned to Wright. The human ambassador stood slowly. 6 months ago, the Zephyrian Empire attacked Earth's colony on Mars without provocation. 50,000 humans died. The council dismissed our protests, calling the attack justified. He looked around the chamber. Earth has not forgotten. This is madness, the Zephyrian representative shouted. You cannot hope to defeat the Empire. Our fleet will crush your pathetic forces. Wright smiled coldly. Your fleet is currently engaging shadow targets. Our actual forces are elsewhere. On the main display, a new report appeared. The Zephyrian home fleet had been ambushed while responding to a false distress call. 30 capital ships lost in minutes. Admiral Harris coordinated the attacks from the EDF Vengeance. Earth's fleet moved between targets with precision, striking and disappearing before the Zephyrians could respond. The aliens' communications were in chaos, jammed by technology developed by Dr. Michelle Carter. Phase 3 beginning now, John reported to President Rodriguez via quantum communicator. Zephyrian response is disorganized and ineffective. Maria nodded. Any losses? Minimal. 7 fighters, no capital ships. Their weapons can barely touch our shields. And Project Thunderbolt? John's expression was grim, but satisfied. Working perfectly. Their shields might as well not exist. At the Zephyrian military headquarters, High Commander Velk watched his empire's defenses crumble. How is this possible? They're using our own technology against us, but improved. The Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos as more reports arrived. The humans weren't just winning. They were systematically dismantling the Zephyrian military with surgical precision. Ambassador Wright stood calmly amid the uproar. Earth offered. Peace, we were answered with violence, now we answer in kind. He paused, looking directly at the council leader. Perhaps the council should reconsider its position on the justification of the Mars attack. By the end of the first day, the mighty Zephyrian Empire was in disarray. A third of its military capability had been destroyed. Its communication systems were compromised. Its leadership was in panic, and Earth was just getting started. 3 days into Earth's counterattack, the Galactic Council chamber had become a permanent emergency session. Representatives from all 47 species gathered in stunned silence as the latest reports appeared on the main display. The humans have taken the Zephyrian outpost in the Rigel system, announced a harried aide. All defensive forces neutralized. Council leader Varthok slumped in his seat. His scales had lost their vibrant blue color, turning a sickly gray. How many installations have we lost now? 73 military bases, 22 shipyards, 8 command centers. The aide's voice trembled. The humans are moving methodically through Zephyrian space. The Talaxian representative leaned forward. And Zephyrian casualties? Military losses estimated at 200,000. Civilian casualties? The aide looked down at his data pad. Virtually none. The humans are specifically avoiding civilian targets. This caused a murmur through the chamber. Most species in the council practiced total war. If you fought, you targeted everything. The humans' precision was both impressive and unsettling. Ambassador Stephen Wright sat quietly at the human delegation's table. For 3 days, he had said nothing beyond his initial statement. He simply watched as the council realized the full extent of humanity's capabilities. The Kral representative, a hulking insectoid creature, pointed at Wright. You must stop this madness. The balance of power in the galaxy is at risk. Wright finally spoke. The balance of power shifted the moment the Zephyrians attacked Mars. We're simply making that clear to everyone. On the front lines, Lieutenant Jake Miller led Dragon Squadron on their 9th mission. His fighters approached a Zephyrian research station hidden in an asteroid field. Intelligence believed the station contained data on new weapons systems. Dragon 3, watch your 6, Jake warned one of his pilots. I'm reading multiple defense turrets. The Zephyrian defenses opened fire, but the human fighters were too fast. Jake's squadron wove through the asteroid field, dodging both rocks and energy blasts with impossible precision. Remember, Jake told his pilots, we want the data cores intact. Hit the defenses and engines only. Dragon 3, piloted by Sarah Wilson, accelerated toward the station's main communications array. Taking out their distress beacon, she reported, firing her weapons. The array exploded silently in the vacuum of space. Jake nodded in approval. Dragon 2 and 5, hit their engines. Everyone else, target defense systems. The human fighters struck with surgical precision. Within minutes, the research station floated powerless and defenseless. Deploying boarding team, Jake announced. A small shuttle detached from his fighter and headed for the station's airlock. Inside the Zephyrian station, Chief Researcher Melk huddled with his staff as the human boarding party breached the outer doors. The aliens had expected to be killed immediately. Instead, the humans in their armored suits moved past the scientists toward the data center. Copy everything, ordered the human leader. Exactly as Colonel Lee instructed. 5 minutes later, the humans departed with complete copies of all research data. The last soldier paused at the airlock and tossed a small device to Melk. Emergency. Beacon, the human said. Activates in 1 hour. Enough time for us to be gone. Not enough for you to die of life support failure. As the humans departed, Melk looked at his colleagues in confusion. They could have killed us all. One of his assistants nodded slowly. They want us to tell others what happened. They want the Empire to know they could have killed us, but chose not to. On the Zephyrian homeworld, High Commander Velk faced the grim reality of his situation. In just 3 days, the Empire had lost nearly 40% of its military capability. Faster-than-light communications were compromised. Supply lines were shattered. We must negotiate with them, suggested his second-in-command. Velk's scales darkened with rage. Negotiate? With primitives? Never. Sir, with respect, they are no longer primitives. The officer brought up a holographic display showing a human warship destroying a Zephyrian cruiser. Their technology has surpassed ours. Their tactics are superior. They've learned our weaknesses and exploited them perfectly. On Earth, Dr. Michelle Carter briefed President Rodriguez on the latest intelligence. The Zephyrians are in disarray. Their command structure is breaking down. We're intercepting panicked communications between their outposts. Maria nodded, studying the star map showing Earth's advance. And the other council species? Watching carefully. None have offered to help the Zephyrians. Michelle smiled slightly. Several have quietly reached out through back channels to establish better relations with Earth. They see which way the wind is blowing, Maria mused. What about the council itself? In permanent emergency session, they're realizing that the galaxy's balance of power has shifted dramatically. Colonel Daniel Lee led the ground assault on the Zephyrian military headquarters on Proxima 4. 300 human soldiers, equipped with powered armor reverse-engineered from Zephyrian technology, moved through the complex with ruthless efficiency. Southeast corridor secured, reported Sergeant Frank Mason. Prisoners contained in the mess hall. Daniel nodded. Access to the command center? Cutting through the final door now, sir. The human soldiers used plasma cutters to slice through the reinforced door of the command center. Inside, the regional Zephyrian commander and his staff waited, weapons drawn. Surrender or die, Daniel stated simply. The Zephyrian commander, his scales pale with fear but his posture defiant, raised his weapon. The Empire does not surrender to primitives. What happened next would become legendary throughout the galaxy. The human soldiers moved so fast that surveillance cameras could barely track them. Their armor deflected Zephyrian weapons fire as if it were rain. Within 7 seconds, every armed Zephyrian was disarmed and subdued, without a single fatality. Daniel approached the commander, who now lay pinned to the floor. We're not primitives. We're humans. And we just conquered your most secure military base in this sector without killing a single person. He leaned closer. Because we chose not to. Across the galaxy, footage of the assault was broadcast on all frequencies. Dr. Kate Sullivan had hacked into the Galactic Council's communication network to ensure everyone saw what humans were capable of in the council chamber. The representatives watched in stunned silence as human forces demonstrated capabilities that should have been impossible for such a young species. How did they advance so quickly? Whispered the Moldovan representative. It's been only 6 months since the Mars attack. Ambassador Wright finally stood, addressing the council directly. Humanity has always excelled at adaptation. For thousands of years we fought each other, developing weapons and tactics with ruthless efficiency. When we finally united, we turned that innovation toward peaceful pursuits. He paused, looking at each representative in turn. The Zephyrian attack didn't teach us how to fight. It merely gave us a new enemy to focus on. Everything you're seeing, the technology, the tactics, the precision, this is what humans have always been capable of when threatened. On the main display, a human fleet surrounded the Zephyrian Empire's largest shipyard. Admiral John Harris stood on the bridge of the EDF Vengeance, watching as Zephyrian ships attempted to flee. Let the civilian vessels go, he ordered. Target military only. Captain Amy Peterson, commanding one of the flanking destroyers, acknowledged the order. The Zephyrians are dropping their weapons and powering down engines, Admiral. They're surrendering, John nodded. Secure the shipyard. I want their weapon designs and manufacturing techniques. Back on Earth, a team of scientists led by Dr. Eric Johnson studied the data captured from Zephyrian research facilities. Their next generation of weapons would have been formidable, he told his colleagues. If they'd had another year to develop, them our shields might not have held. Paul Turner, examining the designs on his tablet, shook his head. Good thing we didn't wait. Striking now was the right call. As the Zephyrian Empire continued to crumble, the Galactic Council faced a new reality. The species they had dismissed as primitives now controlled the most advanced military force in the galaxy. 3 weeks after Earth launched Operation Silent Thunder, the Zephyrian Empire surrendered unconditionally. The once mighty power that had ruled a third of the galaxy for centuries had been defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive. In the Galactic Council chamber, representatives from all 47 species gathered for the historic moment. The Zephyrian delegate, his scales a pale gray of defeat, signed the surrender document with trembling hands. Admiral John Harris stood nearby, watching with quiet satisfaction. Behind him, Captain Amy Peterson and Colonel Daniel Lee represented Earth's naval and ground forces. For 3 weeks they had led the systematic dismantling of the Zephyrian military machine. The terms are unusually merciful, whispered the Talaxian representative to his aide. Indeed, Earth's demands surprised many in the Council. There would be no occupation of Zephyrian worlds, no massive reparations that would cripple their economy, no execution of military leaders. Instead, Earth required 3 things: full membership in the Galactic Council with equal voting rights, access to all Zephyrian technology, and a formal apology for the Mars attack. President Maria Rodriguez addressed the Council via holographic projection. Earth did not start this conflict, but we have finished it. We came to the stars seeking friendship and cooperation. Instead, we were met with unprovoked violence. She looked at each representative in turn. Let the events of the past month serve as both a lesson and a warning. Earth wishes for peace, but we will not tolerate aggression against our people. Ever. Council leader Varthok, his authority diminished by the conflict, spoke carefully. The Council acknowledges Earth's right to join as a full member. The vote is unanimous. Ambassador Stephen Wright accepted the formal documentation of Earth's new status. After months of playing the humble diplomat, he finally allowed himself a small smile of triumph. Lieutenant Jake Miller stood with the other pilots of Dragon Squadron as they received commendations from Admiral Harris. During the 3-week campaign, they had flown 67 combat missions without losing a single pilot. The galaxy now knows what happens when humanity is pushed too far, Harris told them. Your actions have ensured that no species will dare attack Earth again. Back on Earth, Dr. Kate Sullivan and Paul Turner began the process of integrating captured Zephyrian technology with human innovation. Their work would push Earth's technological development forward by centuries. What do you think happens now? Paul asked, examining a Zephyrian quantum computer. Kate considered the question. Now we show the galaxy what humans can do when we're not fighting for survival. Our creativity, our art, our science. She smiled. We'll amaze them even more in peace than we did in war. In Washington, President Rodriguez met with her War Council one final time. The holographic display showed Earth's fleet returning home. From Zephyrian space, Operation Silent Thunder is complete, General Lisa Cooper reported. All objectives achieved with minimal losses. Maria nodded. And now the hard work begins. We must transition from war to peace, from vengeance to diplomacy. Will the other species trust us after what they've seen? Asked Dr. Michelle Carter. They will respect us, Maria replied. Trust will come with time. As Earth's forces withdrew from Zephyrian territory, Admiral Harris had one final message for the defeated Empire. He stood on the bridge of the EDF Vengeance, facing the Zephyrian High Command via video link. Remember this, he said simply. Earth watches and Earth remembers. We came in peace. You chose war. We hope you choose more wisely in the future. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with activity as species that had ignored humanity now sought alliances and trade agreements. Ambassador Wright handled each request with careful consideration, knowing that Earth's position in the galaxy had changed forever. Commander Beth Young, who had reported the first Zephyrian transmission 6 months ago, delivered Earth's final message to the Council. Humanity extends its hand in friendship to all peaceful species. We bring innovation, determination, and a unique perspective to galactic affairs. But know this: we are not to be underestimated. Attack us and you attack a planet that has spent thousands of years perfecting the art of war. Befriend us, and you gain allies who will stand by you no matter the odds. The galaxy had learned a harsh lesson. The species they had dismissed as primitive newcomers had revealed themselves to be the most dangerous and capable beings in known space. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, forever changing the balance of power in the galaxy, and the stars would never be the same again.